Anyways, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast, as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to discuss the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land all off-season long. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live now regularly every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored, you're just being starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for some content over there as well during the off season. And for audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 176 of our show. Now, obviously, for the audio people, you didn't get to see it, or maybe you did, because I think it's a little bit longer, but we do have a new intro, so yay. And I was working on that for hours before the show, and I was able to finish it a lot earlier than I expected to, so I was able to put that one out, and, is it missing someone? Might be. Maybe we'll update it if it happens. But hey, we're in the off season right now for the Mets as of right now. The World Series is about to start, which means real off season stuff is about to begin. But still have some stuff to talk about, some rumors, some internal stuff, which we're going to get to as well. Frank, I noticed the new hat. From last time you had Seattle. That didn't work. They're done. So I guess you have to go with some old school Toronto hat.
Yes,
right
going back in the day, back to the my golden childhood. Listen, I mean, really, what comes down to is anyone but the Dodgers. You know what I mean? Like, that's who I'm currently rooting for. That's what I'm interested in right now. And listen, is Toronto going to win? Probably not, because the Dodgers are super stacked, but I'm rooting for anyone that's not Los Angeles. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting, though. I think that seeing how this World Series goes, could it have implications on the next collective bargaining agreement? It might. I mean, you have very contrasting styles. I mean, you saw in the NLCS, you're going to see it now in this series too. But like this team that they just kind of do whatever they want, get whoever they want, just this luxury of riches. We'll see if that's something that could sustain and the new rules and stuff like that. It's going to be interesting. And I'm not looking forward to it. I know it's going to be another things it's going to drag on, and it's not going to be like, oh, well, we'll avoid a lockout. Oh, it'll be a short lockout. No, it's going to go on and on. We've been here before multiple times with, the union and the owners. Like, it's not going to be pretty. And I just feel like if the Dodgers go back to back, it just makes it even worse, because more teams are going to want, like, not only salary cap, but like we all say, a salary floor would be nice too. Yeah. I mean, that you got to compensate one way or another. If you're going to cap it, you got to, raise the minimum too. So you can't just all be circled on one or two teams. So overall, I mean, I just want to see Toronto kind of do something here. I always like seeing a team that doesn't normally win. And I just feel like seeing the Dodgers not come through with everything that they have going. They have really the golden boy of, I mean, since how many, over 100 years, they got the real golden boy. And for that team to lose, it would be fun to see.
Yeah. It would be cool, but we all know that they're going to be back probably the next year or the year after that, because they just continue to, no matter what, even if they do lose, we will just sign the best player available. That's basically it. And obviously those CBA implications are going to be a factor in some of the next stuff that happens over the winter. And, some people will find some frustration with it. I think this is going to be the last CBA negotiation under Rob Manfred. So that's the only thing. But let's just say that the heat has been brewing a lot between the MLBPA and the MLB. And it's not going to be it's not going to be fun when it gets to that. And obviously prepping for it, could that have something to do with the Mets offseason? We don't know, because they are in that over that CBA tax, but just did not have as much success as the Dodgers have had. So it could affect them. Does it affect them in one way? Who knows?
But also there's a thing that Cohen had talked about a while ago, but it's like, if you're gonna go over it, you don't just kind of go over it. Like if you're over, I mean, might as well just get everybody, you know, because at that point it's like you're just getting taxed a little more, and maybe some draft picks get moved around a little bit, but it's just like overall, it's like, why not? You know, it's like, why not just keep going? There's not this like real strict penalty that really prevents you from doing anything too major. You know, I mean, like I said last episode, but like something like basketball, it's like so much more intense, where it's like you are hard capped, you cannot trade, you cannot do this. Like there's like so many different rules that come into play that baseball doesn't have. So the Dodgers say, you know what? And then furthermore, the deferrals. I mean, that's where the real problem is that like right now, people can say, oh, well, you know, the Dodgers Mets payroll, it's not that different. But it's like, okay, well, go look at the Dodgers like 2037 payroll, and look at how they have a bunch of big contracts for guys that aren't even going to be playing there for them anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not even a this year problem. It's more so like, well, what are you going to do a decade from now? So it's like, listen, they have multiple things to tackle at once. It's not all going to get accomplished. I mean, you could go in there with a list of, if you're the players, if you're the owners, of what you want to see get done. Maybe you get some from each end, but I feel like this whole problem that, you know, you see of the disparity in the way teams approach things, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be tough. Like, no one's going to want to give in. You know, I mean, it's just kind of those things where like they'll just keep staring at each other. Will affect maybe games being played? I don't know. It could affect spring training, maybe getting a little bit of a delayed start. I mean, we'll see how that goes. But like we said, we just know it's not fun. I mean, because we've already had a couple lately, whether it was pandemic or the previous lockout. It's just always brutal every single time.
Yeah. I mean, it never, I don't see any point where it gets better. It just continues to get worse, just from how it has been between the relationship between the PA and the MLB. And a lot of people from the outside who don't watch baseball would be like, oh, well, it's millionaires fighting with billionaires. Well, I mean, it's more of just how it's being represented, because you have millionaires kind of representing it on the player's side. And, you know, I think there's a viewpoint from both sides. There's been a lot of call for a lot of owners to sell their team if they don't like the conditions. I mean, and I would be okay with that, because most of the owners in Major League Baseball aren't Steve Cohen, aren't, you know, the group that owns the Dodgers as well. Like, not many of those teams want to compete, and there should be a more motivation to compete. And for some reason, they just don't. And speaking of spending money or moving money, Andrew, we did a video, if you guys have not seen it yet, of 7 Mets that could have been that could be traded this offseason. And a lot of it has to do either with money or roster flexibility. You don't know what it's going to look like. But again, there's plenty of things internal that the Mets have to look at before they go around the rest of the league and they go external and sign free agents and spend whatever big bucks everybody wants to spend. But there are a lot of decisions that the Mets need to make because of how this season ended. You can't run this back the way that people expect individually. They're going to have to make a shakeup.
Yeah, and like I mean, we've seen people putting out their dream off seasons and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, we're just gonna run these back, and then we're gonna add like $400 million of payroll. I'm like, well, again, I love the word dream, and again, trust me, mine will come out as soon as the non-tender deadline. But unlike the things I'm seeing, there better be a complete overhaul, and we'll even get to it in one of our segments today. I don't expect a lot of the people being brought back on this team, and I wouldn't be shocked if you see 15 to 16 brand new names of 26 guys. Like, there is, after a year like that, you can't be like, well, let's run back 20 guys and then we'll only make a few bullpen maneuvers, maybe a bench. Like, no. Especially with, we talked about it in the video, guys running out of minor league options. There has been a glut of this roster. You need to trim the fat, and I do expect it has to be, because like we said, like we were talking about earlier, you only really got baseball one more year, because I don't think we're playing in 27, so you got to adjust to, hell, this might be the last year of baseball for a minute. So there might be an even more emphasis of, you know what, we got to go for it. Because again, we don't know what the penalties are if we play baseball again. And if it's, let's say you're losing a year like you did in 94, you're coming back in 2 years. So guys are going to be maybe 2 years older. So maybe does that change some of the plans of Stearns to say, hey, maybe instead of going after one ace guy, maybe hell, we have the excess. We have one of the number one farm system baseball, one of the top farm systems. You know what the penalties are for at least this year. Maybe you trade for 2 rental stars, and then you know what? You come on after the lockout, and then you make the decision depending on what the financial structure is for Major League Baseball after that lockout. So again, we talked about in the video about guys that are part of that conglomeration that need to go. Again, we'll see if David Stearns actually does it, or just runs it back and makes those marginal dumpster diving moves.
Well, he did dumpster dive today. He brought back Richard Lovelady, which is the only thing that you can really do right now. You can retain your free agents and you can sign guys to minor league contracts. So for those of you panicking that this is the main mindset of David Stearns as of right now, to just sign a bunch of bums at this current moment, the World Series has to end first before they can actually get into the free agent market. But it is kind of funny that Richard Lovelady seems to be the first major league move of our offseason, which I did not, I didn't expect. And let me say, I was so worried that we couldn't retain him. But anyways, there is a lot, obviously, about their approach going into this offseason, and it does obviously start internally. But when we talk about the books, about a year ago, we had a lot of money that came off the books. Obviously, a lot of short-term deals that came off free agent-wise. You also had the Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander and James McCann retained salaries come off the books. So that really helped the payroll kind of empty itself out, and them to approach this in a get Juan Soto type of approach. It's a little bit different now because it's a little bit more tied down. Obviously, Soto, Lindor, Nimmo. You got some other pieces that are making a good substantial amount of money, but you also have this little thought of, compared to last year, the Mets kind of had the ideal of being in that 360, 370 range for their payroll because of the average attendance. This year, they had top attendance. So could there be more motivation for them to go all in, even with more money on the books compared to last year? Who knows? And obviously, when you sign Juan Soto, you want to put talent around him and fill the team, especially with the motivation from how even Stearns said it in his press conference, saying that, this team was not built the best. It had flaws to it. And maybe, with Richard Lovelady, maybe that can be solved. No, but other than that, speaking of internal guys, re-signing, retaining guys, getting rid of guys, we are going to kind of abbreviate a segment we did last year because it was a little bit more controversial, more breakdown, a little bit more happy, to be honest, because we actually made the postseason, made a deep run. Instead, we're going to kind of just combine every single free agent, and each of us are going to run down what we would do with every single one of them. We have 11 free agents that we're going to be going over. There's player options for Edwin Diaz, AJ Minter, Frankie Montas. 2 of those, I am almost sure that they're both going to exercise those. The player options we are not going to touch yet until the decisions are made for that, along with Edwin Diaz as well. So we have 11 free agents that I sent these guys a message. They let me know who they were willing to keep and who they were willing to let go of. We're doing it in a buy or sell situation here. And I think we're going to start off with Frank for what he thinks we should do with these free agents. We have 11. And you're just basically just going to point out if you would push to bring them back, or you're just letting them completely walk. Now, one thing that I will say here, Brooks Raley and Drew Smith are also on club options, so you'd have to pick them up or let them go to free agency. So that's, obviously there's a certain amount of money that you would have to pay them in certain type of value. So either way, Frank, if you would like to explain the damage here, I will pop it up on the screen.
Do we have enough time for me to talk about the damage? Because that's really
just little quick explanations. If you want to go into a rant, that's fine. Because we've got leeway here.
I mean, there's so many rants. I mean, but this list was just like mostly a list of pain and torture. So
all right, so here's what Frank would do. So Frank, if you'd like to explain yourself, go ahead.
Sure. All right. As you can see, a lot of red here. Red means bad. It's not like baseball savant. So, I mean, with the kind of season you had this past year, they stunk. I mean, we talked about it, but the offseason, not great. Deadline, even worse. But I'll quickly go for the case for everyone. Pete, I mean, listen, we saw how much the team struggled with men on base all year long. It felt like Pete was one of the only guys who consistently was bringing in those runs. He got some big hits late when it just seemed like a lot of these times, like, do these guys have a clutch bone in their body? We talked about the 0-1,000,000 when they're down after 8 innings. It's like, could anyone get a game-winning hit? I felt like Pete was your best bet. So for me, I feel like I'm going to buy. I think that, we talk about not taking production for granted. It's not always a 1-for-1. It's not like, oh, well, even though I've made a case for some other players, like what Josh Naylor did somewhere or what another player did in another place, it doesn't always translate perfectly. It's not like, oh, well, if they got 800 OPS in this place, surely when they get some Mets, they'll also be 800 OPS. It doesn't work like that. So for me, actually, Pete's been so consistent giving good seasons for quite a while that I don't want to take that for granted. I mean, the years is definitely up for discussion. I'm not saying, oh, we'll just give him 10 years, buy no matter what. But I think that we're talking regular market value, or even a little bit above that money-wise, buy. Canning, this is an interesting one. I mean, he obviously had the injury. I was not a big fan, nor was really anybody when they signed him. The whole like, oh, well, here's a guy coming off of, being one of the worst pitchers in the league. Now bring him onto the team. I wasn't big on that. And I know that Canning definitely surprised.
Can't be worse.
Yeah, no, it can't be worse. He definitely surprised a lot of people with how well he pitched with the Mets. But to me, I felt like as the year was going on, I kind of saw the wheels coming off a little bit. It just felt like the way he pitched right around his injury was not the same that he pitched results-wise earlier in the season. I felt like he got away definitely some hard contact. And you just look at it. I mean, you look at April, he had an ERA of 2.61. That jumps up to 4 in May and then 5 in June. So I just felt like even though the numbers all don't look good because how good he was in April, it was something that by the time the year was over, I don't know if it would have been so great. And again, I talked about this a lot this whole year. I'm not big on bringing guys back coming off an injury. I don't know what Canning's going to look like coming back from his injury. Is he going to be as good? Is he going to be worse? I just think there's too much risk involved there that I would be looking elsewhere for a healthy arm, even though his arm's not the injury, but still an injured player. Ryan Helsley, disaster. I mean, absolutely horrific. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, here's a perfect example. Here was a guy that was like, you know what? He's this great closer. He's been an all-star. So he'll come to the Mets and be a great setup man. Wrong. I mean, they tried to avoid him for a while because it just gotten to that point. Absolutely not. Marte, I mean, almost as old as me. I mean, I've been half the room waiting for him in the retirement home. So he's going to check in relatively soon. It's not going to be that much longer that we have to keep it reserved. So at that point, guy way over 36 doesn't really play the field. No, thank you. Mullins, I mean, bad in everything. Can't hit, can't field, can't throw. I mean, what more is there to say? I mean, why would you want something like that on your team? Brooks Raley, I mean,
scrub.
Bonafide scrub. Brooks Raley, club option. That should be like an automatic. I mean, the value that you get for Brooks Raley, you're not paying him much. He gave them so much coming off of an injury. Only game half season was great. Very few reliable guys definitely take him. Rogers, he's a tricky one. I mean, all in all, you may look at the ERA and be like, oh, Rogers wasn't that bad. But the inherited runners thing, I don't like it. I mean, I feel like if I'm trying to assemble a bullpen, I don't love the pitch to contact thing, especially in a reliever. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't think that's the way to be very successful. I just don't like, we've talked about this, but these relievers that are just so niche. It's like, oh, well, the bases need to be empty and you need to be facing a right-hander. And like, I don't need all these other extra things. If I need you coming in, you're coming in any scenario. I need you to come through. I just felt like with Rogers, it was either you get 3 groundouts or like 2 hits and a ground out. So it was just too, you never know what you're going to get. It's either going to go to the second baseman or go in the hole between second and first. Up next, Drew Smith. I mean, do I really have to talk about this? I mean, come on now. This guy's been here way too long. Absolutely not. Coming off injury. No, thank you. Gregory Soto. I mean, the guy that takes back foot slider literal. I mean, he hits way too many batters, especially with 2 strikes. Bring him in to face a lefty, he's probably going to hit him. Another guy, like, no matter what scenario you bring him in, you want him to face a lefty, can't do it. Coming in on base, can't do it. Like, again, if you're going to be in my bullpen, especially if I got Rayleigh already, I'm just picking that up. I don't have as much a need for Gregory Soto. Ryan Stanek, how he made it through the whole year, I do not know. I mean, this is a guy you cannot trust. Home run ball too prevalent. A strikeout pitcher that can't get strikeouts. Driving way too many counts. Another guy, walk problems. I mean, who knows? With some of these guys, could a different pitching coach help them out? Maybe, but for me, I'm not interested. And then Winker, massive disappointment. I mean, I have concerns about him, how he profiles as a DH anyway. It's not the kind of DH I would want if I'm assembling a team in the first place. A guy that is out there looking to draw walks. It's designated hitter. It's not designated walker. Speaking of Walker, he probably needs one because his back is all messed up since last year. He barely played at all this season. He came in and instantly was hurt. You put him in the field for like a couple innings, he falls apart. So you're just not getting much value out there. He didn't play. We don't know what even happened to this guy all in all. I just don't love this idea of signing injured players. I just think that when it comes to DH, there's plenty of guys out there who are healthy and actually provide full great power. And that's kind of what this team could use with all the leadoff hitters that they have as of right now. Can that core change and they shift some things around? And then maybe there's a better fit for Winker as a player, maybe, but still that health thing, not interested.
All right. Well, that's a good rundown there. So you're buying 2 guys out of 11 here. And obviously one of them is a team option, which is basically a steal. And I think we all can agree that, Brooks Raley, it's an important piece to our bullpen for multiple years now. Even with him being injured for a majority of his Mets tenure, getting Tommy John surgery, I mean, pretty much one that you can pick up here. And now I'm gonna bring in mine here. I'm gonna sandwich myself in between you 2 guys. And I'm going to put up the 11 free agents of what I think so. And it might be a little bit different, but some of the same, actually. All right. Well, for me, I'm going to put up a buy on Pete Alonso. And again, we are not going to go into spring training with this still going on. There's going to be, I don't know, you give one offer to him. If he doesn't want it, goodbye. That's it. Obviously, we know that there's there's some other options on the first base market, which I would not mind if they want to trade for one like we talked about before Alonso came back. I would not mind that either, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Pete Alonso is a number 1 guy that I need to bring back. I need to prioritize him, and I need to shove $200 million in his face. Reality is he got 7 years, 158 million 2 years ago. He didn't take it. He's not going to get 7 years again. Griffin Canning, I'm going to put a buy on this one. And Frank, I do agree with you that bringing back a guy who is coming off of an injury, it's definitely a risk. And for me, Canning is someone I think it's just, 1-year deal. You probably could get him back for the same salary or maybe a little bit less. He's coming off of an Achilles tear. The main reason as to why I want to bring back Griffin Canning would just be the fact that I need this team to be serious about the pitching depth and not only be serious about the long relief pitching depth, because if we're going to continue with some of these guys in this rotation that cannot go deep into games, we're going to need to see some long relief options and not completely gas out the back end of the bullpen. And we always talk about the inconsistencies of the bullpen. Again, Canning, it's a buy low, 1-year deal, rotation depth that you need. Basically replace Jose Budo's role is that basically all I'm going to be saying. And also I do like Canning's secondary stuff too. So I'm not going to say that he's just, an arm that can just basically exist. If he hurt his arm, then I'd be like, okay, no way. I don't know what he's going to be, but freak injury, even though freak injuries seem to happen too much. So maybe it's just, Mets being Mets, but it's whatever. Ryan Helsley, I never want to hear Hell's Bells ever again. That song sucks, and it's now my least favorite song of all time. Starling Marte, listen, growing up, I loved this guy as, coming into the league 10 years ago, but, the time has come. Father time has caught up for him. If he wants to just chill in the clubhouse all year, because I know that this team loves the vibes guys and can only do something with vibes guys. If he wants to do that, that's fine, but I ain't signing him to a big league contract in any sort of way whatsoever. Cedric Mullins sucks ass. Sell. Buy on Brooks Raley. Like Frank just said as well, easy pickup, has aged fairly well, coming back from Tommy John surgery. Easily one of the best offseason additions they've had in the last few years that hasn't underperformed and has been just as good as advertised. And he's definitely been really good from the back end of that bullpen and from almost any situation, being able to pitch to right-handers and left-handers from that left side. Tyler Rogers, I think he is a really good pitcher. I think he's going to get a decent amount of money on the free agent market. But I do not want it coming from the New York Mets. Just like Frank said, and kind of echoing it, putting the ball in play as much as he does, you have a lot of defensive worries behind him. Not to mention a little bit, not enough, not much of a balance of contact that he does give up. And even though Rogers, I do think, is a really good reliever, and I do think he was a good move, it just was not the best fit for this team, and that was the main reason as to why people see it as a failure. And I think that the Mets just should not move on in that way. The Mets should move on from that. Anyways, Drew Smith, bye. Listen, I understand you're nursing an injury. You have a club option here, and if you're going to give me an option to bring back Drew Smith, I am going to take the opposite of that initiative to not bring him back. We have seen him long enough. I don't need to see him after an injury, after his second Tommy John surgery of his career. I don't think he's a good reliever. Could he be a better reliever after the surgery? To be honest, I don't know, but move on already. We've seen enough of Drew Smith. We know what he is capable of, and it really is not much. Like Frank has said before, if you can't be in a multitude of situations and a lot of things have to go right, especially when you're Drew Smith, who's been here for a long time, and all he has really been successful in is low leverage situations, it's just a waste of a bullpen spot. Gregory Soto. I don't think selling does this justice. I think you need to launch this guy on a rocket ship to the moon. That's how much I do not like this guy. Every time he came in, was brought in to face left-handed hitters. Every time he came in, could not get left-handed hitters out. And when he was facing right-handed hitters, just like Frank said, would basically hit the back foot for a slider, basically for literally and figuratively. Ryan Stanek, what the hell happened to you, man? I was rooting for you for so long. You were one of the guys I was pushing for years. You finally come to the Mets. It was a disaster. Basically just became this year's version of Adam Ottavino. You can go. Jesse Winker, I love you as a guy. We love you. He's a fan favorite. I like him as a hitter, but we all know that when you get to those back injuries in the middle of in your mid-30s, it can be a little bit it can be a little bit dangerous for what you're doing right there. And Winker obviously doesn't provide as much value overall as a player, but as a hitter, he definitely can deepen a lineup. I hope that he gets, I hope for his very best wherever he ends up, but I don't think that the Mets should end up bringing him back, especially when Winker is pretty much a platoon bat at this current moment, if he is actually healthy. And I'm not trying to see them retain Jesse Winker and also bring back Starling Marte for vibes for another DH platoon of that, because I don't need that. No, thank you. So, anyways, obviously, when you talk about all these other free agents, like Andrew just hinted, earlier on, you said, I don't see many of these guys coming back. I don't see the Mets, retaining these pieces. So, Andrew, for what you would do, you're the GM of the three of us. You're always thinking about these moves. Frank, let's just say we need to duck under the desk. So,
here we go.
Andrew,
be ready to bazookas.
Go ahead. Hey, you're putting yourself in the line of fire. Let me just say that, okay?
And did I partially troll? Of course, 'cause that's just me. But is there some reality to this? Get ready, because I'm looking in the way of David Stearns. Let's get in the dumpster, boys.
Andrew, this one's yours. Go ahead.
Fire away. Here we go. First big thing: Pete Alonso go join the LA Angels. Kind of like what Carson says. I am not sitting here waiting till mid-February and playing this game with you. I will give you a nice 4 or 5 year offer. You say no, I have other holes I have to fill. And I can't sit here and wait for you to say, as much as the fans want you back, I can't sit and wait, especially if, let's say, O'Hearn and other options start falling off the table. Last year we had the benefit because we signed Juan Soto. We could wait and wait and wait, and it fell perfectly. This year he doesn't have the qualifying offer attached. More teams will be involved. And I do believe, which maybe this is me being a cynical, rhino that I am, if offers are close, I do think he's just going to go to the highest bidder. I don't think you're going to get that hometown discount. So, Pete Alonso, goodbye. Enjoy wherever the hell you are going. Griffin Canning, similar to how Frank,
Sorry.
That sounded like a horse. What the hell? Similar to Frank, I like having, and what Carson said, I do like bringing back depth, and I do think it'll be cheap, but I'm not banking on a pitcher coming off a torn Achilles. I get it. If we can get him for cheap and it's like less than a couple $1 million.
Yeah, this wasn't a stub toe. Like, this is a pretty significant injury we're talking about.
Yeah, this is a torn Achilles. Like, this is an injury that takes so damn long to recover. If it's cheap, I can see it, but I think somebody might offer him $5 to $6 million, and I just cannot see that in Griffin Canning. And here we go. Let's get the bazookas out, because I'm the only guy that's not giving up on 103 and under. Because, and again, this is my David Stearns brain. Edwin Diaz is opting out, ladies and gentlemen. And Edwin Diaz is going to go to the Dodgers because they're going to give him a Tanner Scott contract. Get ready, 2026. Hell's Bells is going to the ninth inning. Starling Marte, obviously, we'll leave that there. Not much more we're going to say there. We'll just move on. Starling Marte, yeah, again, Unc, you were productive with the expectations we had with you going into the season. You exceeded them. You were productive. But like we've said, we can't do this platoon no more. We need to get up from production from the DH position. Hell, you want to be the hitting coach? Come on down. But again, if you're going to continue to play baseball, go seek employment elsewhere. Cedric Mullins making Jose Siri look productive. I mean, that might be one of the worst. I mean, yes, it was a horrific deadline. Just go play for the Oakland A's next year. Go hit ninth for them, bounce back, and then go get traded to the Phillies next year and then hit 3 homers against the Mets. Because we all know you're just going to do the Harrison Bader arc, and Frank is going to yell at you. And we know how this game plays. Brooks Raley, again, everyone, it's the easiest team option to pick up, especially, again, you don't have consistent relievers in this bullpen. You have nobody. I mean, technically, you have Edwin Diaz under contract right now, but again, after the World Series, you probably don't. You have prospects that you maybe can fill the role. Why would you not just give this is like Stearns' best move, putting a team option on that 1-year deal at the midseason mark and guarantee to have at least one productive left-hander? Tyler Rogers. Same thing. I'm tired of soft contact, and I get he's good at what he does. He manages contact. But when you have the defense that the New York Mets have, and especially the type of relievers I like, again, I'd rather have a guy like Helsley throwing 103 and he's giving up bombs than bringing in a guy like Tyler Rogers throwing 83 and he's giving up these dinks and dunks. So again, good pitcher, probably going to go to a well-run organization with a really good defense and have another sub-2 ERA. It just cannot be here. Pooh Smith, I almost put by just to smite Frank. I think the team is going to pick up the option, but I'll keep this, somewhat traditions that just go to Anaheim, go to the Marlins, just get the hell off my roster. Gregory Soto, I liked the idea at the deadline. You wanted to pair Brooks Raley with a velocity lefty to have 2 different looks. But again, if you're just going to continue to hit everybody in the back foot, you can't really strike anybody out. And again, that throw in San Diego still haunts me to this day that you can't throw to second base. Goodbye. Go back to Philly. Go to Atlanta. Just get up out of here. Ryan Stanek. Do we even have to talk about Ryan Stanek? I mean, again, a guy that Carson was just, oh, I love this guy. We need this guy. We need this guy. And why I said Ryan Helsley, because we all know the Mets always do this. Like last year, it was Stanek himself, guy who was awful the year before. In mid-February, the Mets re-signed Ryan Stanek. They did it with Adam Ottavino. Ryan Stanek, you somehow survive all 162 games. You got a full salary. Good for you. Go enjoy. Come back to St. Louis. I'll probably hang out with you at some point down in St. Louis. And Mr. Jesse Winker, the notorious Met killer, which, yes, he came in. He didn't really do anything last year. He just hit a homer. He had a really good postseason, which, again, I would gladly take a guy like that who doesn't do anything in the regular season, but when in the postseason, you become Babe Ruth. I'll take that any day of the week. But again, like Frank said, if you got no back, you really can't play baseball. You can't play the field. You can't run. You can't hit. What the hell can you do? So, Jesse, we'll wave you goodbye because you're never going to be putting a New York Met uniform ever again.
I like how every single one that he said sell, he's like, go this way, go here, go there, go off to this team, go off to this team. I mean, that seems to just be your MO there. But, I mean, Andrew, how could you? How could you let Pete Alonso walk? How dare you? I can't even I can't even look at you. He's the only option. He's the option. He says LFGM. He's the how dare you?
He does. He can't play defense. He can't throw to first base. He injures teammates. Again, he hits homers. I like homers. But if you're telling me I could take his money and get 2 above average hitters, and you look at the 2 lineups in the postseason right now, they're 1 through 9 league average hitters in every single spot. And you look at this current Met roster, and you only really have 3. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices for best of the team. And if it means sacrificing a tubby polar bear, go get the guillotine.
Unfortunately, we can't do that, right? I mean, I think, the biggest disagreement, I think a lot of people in the chat saying, saying, no, Pete, you guys are crazy. Hey, that's all him. Frank and I just ducked our head to the other side. But again, when we're talking about retaining Pete Alonso, again, we can't be going to all limits when we're talking about a first baseman. It can't happen. We've talked about this already before we even got into last year when he did not have as good of a walk year. He came back, obviously, and he did have a much better year compared to last year. Again, I will welcome Pete Alonso back with open arms. I have been the exact same slate since this all started with the contract talks. But I'm not going to sit here and say, even though I said prefer to buy because he's obviously the best option there, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he is the only solution to fix this team. Because if you're going to say that he is the only solution, it's the only way, what have the Mets been doing with him? Nothing. And that's not his fault. But if you're going to shake it up a little bit after this embarrassing year that you have had, I don't want to hear that they just missed the playoffs. You missed the playoffs with the highest payroll in baseball. You have to make major changes. And if one of those major changes includes Pete Alonso, so be it. Because I'm not going to sit here and say that they just are doing great with him. Because they're not. They underachieve all the time. Again, it's not his fault. But Andrew, if there's anything else that you want to reiterate, plead your case. There's nothing that we can do. Again, there's nothing that we can do right now that, makes, there's nothing that you can really say that makes everybody just completely agree with you. Because it comes from a Mets fan standpoint that he's a fan favorite. He's been here for 7 years already. He was drafted by the organization. But you have to make these tough decisions when you have a team that underachieves like this. And I'm one that said buy Pete Alonso, but I'm not going to sit here and say I completely disagree with what Andrew is saying.
again, like I understand, like if Pete Alonso's coming back, and then this is I took into consideration, I doubt him not having the qualifying offer, him having a better season. I do think there will be more teams interested in him than last year. But my thing is, I'm not bending over backwards to say, here's a 7-year deal, here's a 6-year deal. One, like we've talked about, and just looking at this exercise, look how many holes the Mets are going to have to fill this offseason. Whole new bullpen, DH, left field, center field, probably if you want to upgrade a second and third, look how many holes. And I don't really, again, I maybe that's cynical, and I am, again, I look at these guys as assets. If you're telling me I can get downgrade at first base, because again, Pete Alonso's the number one option available. But let's say I can go get Naylor, or I can trade for Yandy Diaz, and then take that rest of the money, and then go add a center fielder, and I'm getting better offense in center field while still getting production at first base. But I'm not getting Pete Alonso, a 138 WRC plus. If I'm getting a 120 WRC plus, a 115 at first base, and then I can get a 110 bat in center, or moving in the corners, depending, or DH get like a 120 bat. Look what the Mets were last year. We're getting Marte and Winker and Vientos below 100. And then obviously you could take the pain of losing Alonso, but if you're taking that money and upgrading other positions and deepening this lineup, then that should be the goal. If Pete was a 4-year deal and it's saying a 4-year heavy money deal, offer it. If he wants it, take it. I'm fine. But if I'm not sitting here, he still wants to hold this out and Boris wants to play this game, goodbye. I'm sorry. I have too many holes in this roster to fill, and I need to improve other positions. And I get it. Fans are going to be pissed, and we all know if they're going to do Mets Fan Fest after Christmas, they're going to bitch and sign Pete Alonso, sign Pete Alonso, sign, because I paid $200 for a jersey, and I bought my kid a polar bear. David Stearns doesn't care about any of that.
A real polar bear. You bought him as a pet.
Polar bear. We took it to the next level, baby.
David Stearns, you went to Antarctica, went on a boat, and brought yourself a polar jersey on. He doesn't care. He's trying to build the best 40-man roster and 26-man roster. And if he feels that he'll take a marginal downgrade at first base to improve in center field and improve at second base, DH, third base. With that money, again, I love Pete. I don't love Pete, but I love him. I love the production in the lineup. But again, and this is what everyone doesn't want to think about, once you sign Pete and let's say he gets term, he's probably going to have to play a DH. So now you're going to clog DH. Potentially AB is getting to Nimmo, but you want to get Nimmo center field. Okay. There are people who want Soto at right field, so he's there. And then you're going to put Alonso. You've got 3 tubby guys to play DH. And then you're going to have 2 other bad defenders on the field. And then, again, what has David Stearns continued to yell about? Run prevention. So that's my thing. If Pete Alonso signs a big 4-year deal, I will be happy. I will be fine. The polar bears, free the bears, cool. But if I see a notification in mid-February, Angels give him 7 years, $350 million, I'll be dang. I do the same thing when they let Jacob deGrom walk. Damn, I like the player, but that contract fucking sucks.
Hey, I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that, he's the only option here. And, DeBeno's saying it's a good point. Listen, it's a good argument when you talk about this, saying you're missing the point. Who are you replacing Pete with? The thing is that
video coming soon.
You don't have to. You don't have to replace Pete. You don't have to replace him with, find the 40 RBIs, 120 find the 40 homers, 120 RBIs somewhere else. You can't. But you also can just make the roster deeper and maybe split it apart with different positions with more positional versatility. But again, we know the home run ball is there, but from a different standpoint here, what have they done putting all of their chips into Pete Alonso? What has this team done? And everything he's done for this team, he's come up big in plenty of moments. But there's also some shortcomings as well that you have to consider that keeps you from saying, well, let's just chuck $200 million at this guy. And it's more of just the fact of revisionist history of going back to the situation. Pete Alonso, from the reports we're hearing from the market, he wants 7 years. You had 7 years 2 years ago in front of you, and you said no. So when every fan looks at me and says, well, Pete wants to be a Met, he loves being a Met, you had a chance to be a Met. You had a chance to be a Met for the rest of your career, and you said no. You're the one who hired Scott Boras, not us. We didn't hire him. You're the one who hired Scott Boras. And that's where the business side of baseball comes in. And you can't just say, well, Pete Alonso's our homegrown guy. Throw him anything that he wants. Andrew said this on our last episode. They went all out for Juan Soto. They chose to lock down Juan Soto long term before they even looked at Pete Alonso. Now, obviously, Juan Soto, one of a kind player. But again, if the team can be deeper and we don't have 5 holes in one lineup, I mean, look at the Mets lineup sometimes. If the top 4 doesn't do anything, it's not the fact of just, well, the rest of the team's got to step up. It's also the fact that maybe you have to break up some of this top 4. One of them in the top 4 has to go. One of them in the top 5 has to go to make the team deeper. This is just another way to look at it. If they go the direction of Pete Alonso and keep him, let's say that they extend him even before free agency started, like Edwin Diaz did a few years ago. He didn't even go to free agency. He just wanted to be a Met, which I don't see happening. But again, if they do that, that is fine. Open to all suggestions, but I'm not going to sit here and say Pete is the only option. He is the savior of this franchise. Because if he is the savior of this franchise, we'd have plenty of World Series rings in front of us. So I'm not going to sit here and go all in for a first baseman, a non-premium position, and just completely go all out for him because of everything he did for the franchise, the home runs, and you just had the most embarrassing finish to a season you possibly could have ever had with a near $400 million payroll. And you're telling me that these questions that we are asking right now aren't valid? Come on. Frank, I mean, I know that you are more on the, retain Pete Alonso, which again, I get and I fully respect here. But again, it's like there has to be a limit here. There can't just be, well, we have so much money, let's just throw it at him.
I mean, yeah, like you said, you don't want to just keep running back the same team over and over. There are multiple things that need to be addressed. DH is one of them. Center field is one of them. Could you upgrade second base? Could you upgrade third base? I mean, I have my concerns in left field with some stuff. So, I mean, like you say, it's also like you think about what Pete does in a vacuum. And like on paper, when you say things like 35 home runs, 120 RBIs, it sounds like someone you want to keep. But you have to look at, okay, well, what's already on my team and what's going to be on my team going forward. And when you look at the long-term deals of a Juan Soto and look at the long-term deal of a Brandon Nimmo, knowing that those guys are going to be the corners and one, if not both of them, are best suited at DH. And like I said, you're adding in another bad defensive player at first base. If Vientos, again, he's not going to be what he was 2 years ago at this point, but he's going to be better than he was last year. If he's the one starting at third base, that's another guy that's bad defensively in the field that you already know off the bat. People think that Alvarez is a terrible defender. Some Met fans do. Another, big power bat. So, like, you already know that you're going to add Alonso into that mix of guys. It definitely is something that is not the greatest fit, but when you say, okay, well, a better example, though, is that, okay, what about the WRC plus or OPS plus of, like Aaron said, let's say 130, for example. And you look at kind of what the Yankees did with Soto. The Yankees don't get Soto, so what they do, they went and got a bunch of players. They got Cody Bellinger. Yeah. They got Paul Goldschmidt. They got a bunch of different guys. And did they get as far as they did with Soto? No. But they still were able to find production. And it's like would you rather have one guy at a 130 OPS plus and Pete and another guy like 80 OPS plus start filling Tyrone Taylor? Or would you rather have like a 115 and a 110, like we Andrew said before? So it's like that whole thing of quantity over quality is the approach, because like you said, you're not going to just find another first base that gives you 120 RBIs right off the bat. But if your center field is giving you close to nothing, your DH giving you close to nothing, you get 3 solid players, all of a sudden you have more than 120 RBIs. So there are other ways to build a team. And like I said, in a vacuum, Alonso, can he help the Mets? Obviously. But if you have so many other things going wrong and you didn't win with Pete, well, you got to try something new. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that that's something to look at too. And also, listen, it was a lot of factors. The starting pitching definitely is one. It's not just like one thing. It's not a simple thing where like you keep Pete and the Mets are going to go this far. You don't keep Pete, Mets going to go certain far. Like it's a team sport. There's 26 guys. Like
my mindset is on 162 games right now. That's the thing. And the main reason as to why is because the Mets couldn't get past 162 games. So that's what my mindset is on. And if you're talking about that in a certain point, Frank is right about that. When he says, what the Yankees did, they got themselves past 162 games.
And honestly, and the Mets, okay, so all people who are bashing the Yankees about like not keeping their plan B, guess what? The Yankees made the playoffs and we didn't. We got Juan Soto and still didn't make it. So, like, you could say all things, how did plan B work out? It worked out better than us. It worked out a lot better than we did of our plan A. So, I mean, we have nothing to say. We have nothing to show for it. So we can't criticize what they did because we're not much better at all.
Yeah, it's like it's two less who's less worse of who's less worse and who's better. It's they made the playoffs, we didn't, and obviously the Yankees have different expectations here. But when we're talking about 162 games, because again, this is a long season, and a lot of things sustaining throughout. Again, a deep lineup can definitely help carry you. A deep lineup of a lot of guys of contributing. It's, again, could it happen a lot better having a lot deeper of a lineup with hitting coaches from this century? Sure, but is that actually enough? Because again, like we've said, 4 out of the last 5 seasons, they have collapsed. They have either made it to the playoffs, didn't do anything, or in the middle of the season just decided to fall flat on their face. And before anybody says, well, technically, in context, in this, in that, well, guess what? If you have this high payroll, a $300 million, $400 million payroll, you don't make the playoffs. Or you don't get at least to the NLCS or the World Series. It is a failure. You failed. There's no sprinkling around and say, well, guys got hurt and guys got... You failed. You failed. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, well, let's retain Pete Alonso and run this thing back. I'm not going to say, well, I need him no matter what. And when you ask me, that's not fair, which player can win it all by himself, so why do you want to pay Pete Alonso like he can? That's the whole point. God, this sounds a little bit familiar of a team on skates. Anyways.
No.
Anyways.
No, never.
I mean, yeah, he's got a lucky, magical year from Trent Grisham, and we never get that either. So, again... it's not going to help. Even if you pencil in Pete Alonso for 40 home runs and 120 RBIs, what does it fix? It doesn't fix anything. It's not like, well, 1 year, maybe if they do it again, maybe it'll be better. No, this is now 5 fucking years under Cohen where we have seen Pete Alonso stuff the stat sheet, be a prolific power hitter, one of the best in the game. No one's denying that. But they still underachieve. So why would you pay Pete even more money, throw an entire $200 million his way, when you know that it doesn't work? A wise man once said, a smart man once said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the different result is the definition of insanity. And I'm not saying that Pete Alonso is the one thing that needs to go, but you have to keep those options open. You have to. You can't just sit here and say that Pete Alonso is the perfect formula to getting this team back into contention. Merlin saying here, one of our longtime viewers, haven't seen Merlin in a while, saying we need quality hitters than one elite hitter. Correct. And we're already paying 3 guys to be
an elite hitter,
really good hitters right now. And again, we don't know what their limit is because, like we said, the attendance is higher. Do they go all in with this? Do they go all in? Will they look to have a more than $400 million payroll as opposed to last year where they went over because they brought Pete Alonso back late? Do they have more motivation to do that? We don't know. We don't have sources in that way. But when we're looking at it, there's going to be an ask for Pete Alonso that is a lot higher than last year. And he's probably going to get more access to it. And when you have Scott Boras, who likes to ride the market up, we're not going to be at the table the whole goddamn time. This is a lot different of a situation from last year. And Pete Alonso can get his, he got his home run record. He's got his home run derby titles. He's got his all-star selections. That's not the goal here. It isn't. And I'm not mad at Pete for getting those accomplishments. He's had a great career. And to be honest, if he stays healthy, there's a very, very, very high chance that he finishes in the 500 home run club. Very high. But again, this is about the team winning. So again, you already have a lot of money lined up. You have a lot of money tied in. You have to use it a little bit more wisely. We're not even asking of the active money. You have money that's not even active. You know that we have $17 million that we need to pay Frankie Montas this year? That he's going to just opt into to just sit on his ass while he's getting recovering from Tommy John surgery?
McGill and Reed are another
up.
$6 million. Another $6 million for Reed and McGill. Because arbitration for McGill and Reed. So tag that on.
Again, it's not the space that everyone think it is. And it's not just because we signed Juan Soto. There's other guys that they brought in here. You can't sustain this way. You can't. Whether Steve Cohen's got deep pockets or not. But hey, it's whatever. I don't know. And watch Philly, Braves sign everybody in the Mets last place, then I'll see everybody crying. Well, if we have Juan Soto and we're in last place next year, then that means we're in an even worse situation.
Worse hole than we already are.
We're going to have to even have even more uncomfortable conversations than we are having right now. There's plenty of other things that need to go around. And I'm not just going to start off this offseason saying, throw $200 million at Pete Alonso, because that's not going to happen. It isn't. Andrew, I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, how many times?
You know what's funny? You remember the team that was the runner-up to sign Pete Alonso?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that team. Yeah, that made that. Those
but we
those
got
ham
him.
bacon.
He's back.
Yeah. Where are they now?
I don't know.
Oh, we'll see him tonight.
But,
that's right.
But guys, they paid a first baseman $500 million. So we.
But did Vlad break the franchise home run record? Didn't think so.
But also, look at the
age.
They're like what? How many years apart?
Quite
a few.
6. I think it's 6. Yeah.
Context doesn't matter. He broke the home run record. It's fine. It's
God,
fine. You don't have to think about it. You don't think this way. You're a fake fan if you think this way. Come on. If you want the team to actually win and be a balanced team, and if that doesn't include Pete Alonso, that's rough. You can't do that.
Darren.
You can't turn your back on him because it's not like other teams have done that and have had success afterwards. It's not like this is the business part of baseball. Because when these thoughts get into our heads, that's when we start getting tied up into some of these contracts that we can't get out of. As much as I love Brandon Nimmo, that contract is going to look like a shitstorm in the back end of it. It's about to. It's coming close. And we know fans love Brandon Nimmo. Mm-hmm. But we all knew from the very beginning, the day that he signed it, 8 years was an overpay. 8 years was a 100% overpay. They had to overpay somehow. And he got his overpay. Again, this team, how many times is it going to limit itself? Because, we need to keep fan favorites. I don't know. Andrew, anything you want to add to it? Because, again, this is the war that you started.
Well, you started it. I stroked a flame. You just spilled a shit ton of gasoline on it. But again, I guess we look at the Dodgers and everyone wants to say, yes, they cheat. Their money's not real. I understand that. Like, all of their contracts, which ones are the bad ones? Like, that's the main thing. Like, we understand. Like, look who they give term to. They don't give it to B+ guys. The term is to Mookie, to Freddie, to Ohtani. Yes, they do it with pitchers. Yamamoto, a 25-year-old when he was signed. But those are aces. There's no B+ players. Like, it's all superstar frontline guys. And they supplement them with youth.
You're telling me that a guy that broke the franchise home run record isn't an A+ guy?
He's if he's an 89, he's not a 90 in MLB The Show. He didn't even start as a diamond. He's not even a real player. He started as a goalie.
Relax. Hey, Woody Johnson, I'm going to need you to calm down. Okay.
Hey, Justin Fields' batting rating's too low. He's not supposed to win anything. Come
on. Listen, I can't say that that's the only outlet. You can't say it.
Yeah. And again, my thing is, like, I understand, like, there's no options. And I don't mean this is going to sound rude, and I'm not meant to. It's no options that because you guys are Mets fans. Like, there's so many people. Like, I understand. People just care about the Mets. Baseball is a localized sport. I understand that. You're telling me a simple Google search, you can't look. Again, I have videos. I have like 11 options that they can go to. It's baseball players don't just play in New York. Like, there's a lot, and we'll notice there's a lot of cheap owners that want to get out of good, solid players who are on, honestly, the same level as Pete Alonso, but just doesn't play in New York. And I get, Frank, you're right. Not everybody comes in and is successful. I understand that. But the world that we're saying that there's no options, and it even infuriates me on Baseball Night in New York, that godforsaken show. Oh, there's no other option. You just have to sign Alonso, or it's only just Josh Naylor. Does it take anyone a simple we all have computers in our pockets every day. It doesn't take that long. And I get it. Fans are attached. Again, we go back to the Nimmo. I literally say in the Nimmo live stream, this contract sucks, but my fan card takes priority. Those are my first words when we did that stream. This contract sucks, but I like the player. So I understand it. But again, you can't take being a fan when you're trying to win a World Series. If you want to go be a fan, go look at Artie Moreno. Go look at all the bad owners that want to take fan in consideration and are fans of the organization. Jerry Jones, another perfect example. I'm a fan of the team. I run the team. That's what happens. Sometimes you just have to take your fan card out of it and say, hey, what is best for the New York Mets? The front of the jersey, not the back.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, again, listen. There's again, it's the fact of I'm not pointing him out as the scapegoat for this team. He's not the scapegoat for this team. But again, all of those other problems that you need to fix, you can only fix with a time machine. So again, when it comes to Pete Alonso's worth or whatever it is, I hope that he gets paid. I hope that he gets what he deserves, because he's had a great career. But, like, is it the best of interest for the Mets to retain him? And then what are they doing afterwards? Because if you do re-sign Pete Alonso, bring back Pete Alonso, what else do you have to do? A lot. You have a bullpen that needs to be refurbished. You have an infield that needs to be cleaned up. You have a center field situation, which we will get into a little bit in a second. There's so many different things on this team that you have to do and you have to address. There's only so many things that this team can do to just, retain him or whatever. Again, you don't have to replace Pete Alonso. You don't. You can fill in first base. Like we said, we said this last year before Pete Alonso re-signed. We said, you already replaced the production of Pete Alonso with Juan Soto. You just need to fill in first base to make the team a lot more balanced. It's the same thing here. Same situation. No one is saying, just let Pete walk. I don't want him back. But he's not the only option. He isn't. He's not the only option for stardom, because if he's that final piece that we need, because he was that final piece that they added last year, we'd be in the World Series. There's a one thing of talking about it from the entire team's view. And that there's a difference between calling it from the entire team's view and just shifting the blame to someone or being a scapegoat or whatever. It's not as black and white in that way. And we're saying this from a very non-black and white standpoint. It's not just, we hate Pete, we want him gone. It's the fact that you got to look inside of a team that underachieved with a near $400 million payroll. Who's going to look at a $400 million payroll that missed the playoffs and say, well, I got to start retaining pieces and I got to start spending money within the organization? Nobody does that. No sane human says that. They got to look at other avenues too. And we all know that all the games that Scott Boras likes to play, they can't do that again. Because if they do that again, they're not focused on this team winning. The only focus is, let's put asses in seats. Then that's how I'll know that Steve Cohen's main focus is to just have high attendance. It shouldn't be. Because I don't know about everybody else. As a Mets fan, I'm frustrated. I'm definitely frustrated after what we just saw. Because of the reciprocation to fans of the performance we just saw on the field. Mets fans packed Citi Field this year to the top numbers you've never seen since it came in, 2009, 2008, 2009. And look what we just got. You're telling me you don't want the change and you just were like, Pete Alonso's the only option. No, he's not. Shove his stat line in our face all you want. That's fantastic, but what did it get you? Where did it get you? Juan Soto, Lindor, Pete Alonso, all up for the Silver Slugger. Hooray! What did it get us? Nothing. There's only one accolade that matters, and it should matter to teams, to sports fans, and that is winning a championship. And you should have that mentality when you have a near $400 million payroll. There shouldn't be excuses being made like this. Again, we said it. You don't have to replace Pete. You don't have to. Because again, the mentality of let's replace Pete, you're just going to be in the same situation that you are right now. Because going with a first baseman that can give you 40 home runs and 120 RBIs, apparently that doesn't work. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. It's the fact that this is the business side of baseball, and there should not be an entire mentality that Pete Alonso needs to say because he's homegrown. And Pete Alonso, because of his individual stat line that he puts up every single year, we need to keep this guy because it gives us the best chance of winning. Apparently, it does not. Because for what I have seen for the last 7 years of this team, when Pete Alonso has been here, we've had a 0% chance of winning at the end. Because we have not won shit. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's the president of baseball operations' fault? Yeah, because he gave McNeil that contract. And also he was the one who brought in Vientos as well. That's what he inherited. He also inherited Pete Alonso. Get rid of your only run producer. But if he's your only run producer, and he is the key to this, why are we not in the postseason? Why are we treating Pete Alonso like he is the top dog here when he can't be? Why are we treating him like the guy that they need to keep when he is not giving you, when it's not benefiting the team? You can't just tell me you need to run this top four back and say, well, that's it. How is this I don't know how this is a wild I don't know how this is a wild take. We're not in the playoffs because of our pitching. Well, then why were we not in the playoffs in 2019 when we had Pete Alonso? We had good pitching. Why were we not in the playoff? Why did not we not go far in 2022? Again, this is not just 2025. This is multiple years now of this team failing. Multiple years.
But also the big piece too is that, like, you know, as much as people want to criticize the Mets or criticize us specifically for not wanting to give Pete a 7-year deal, well, then where are the geniuses that do? Because again, I mean, we had this take last year and we're going to stick by it, but show me the team that gives him 7 years and then we could talk. But until then, we're not insane. Neither are the Mets, because what person's actually doing this? Show me it, because it doesn't exist. He was available last year. Nobody got him. No one gave him the 7 years. So why a year later, a year older, would they do it now? Why? We're not saying Pete's a bad player. We're not saying don't keep Pete. What we're saying is we don't want Pete for 7 years. You have to actually listen to what we are saying. We're not saying Pete's a bad player. We're not saying he doesn't drive and runs. We're just saying that 7 years to a guy over 30 who's not a great defender is not a smart move. That's it. That's all we're talking about here. We're not saying, you know, we have unlimited money and, you know, everyone never ages and never gets hurt. And, like, do we want Pete or not want Pete Alonso? Well, obviously we would, but that's not how it works.
Yeah. I don't know how many times we have to explain this. It's like, if a team continues to fail like this, you got to go deep into the core of it. You have to. And when you're looking at the limited options, Juan Soto is here. He's been here for 1 year. He's not going anywhere. Francisco Lindor is locked down. Brandon Nimmo is locked down, and you can't move that contract because he has a full trade clause. So where do you go? Where exactly do you go? That goes to Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, maybe some of the young guys who've had a decent amount of time that we even talked about in that video, right, Andrew? I mean,
yep.
Like, how many changes? Like, we're talking about, we need to make changes on a team that just underperformed, a team that just failed miserably. What are the options to get rid? Who can you get rid of? There's not many options here.
And it's the same.
Like, come on. Like, we got the money. Great. And what has that money done for you? Nothing. You are sitting on the couch right now in October. That doesn't solve anything. Oh, they have too many. They have blue and orange glasses on. We didn't spend smart. That's why. Exactly. And like Andrew just said about the Dodgers, Mookie Betts is a 5-tool superstar. That's the type of guy that you go all out for. Freddie Freeman is a better player than Pete Alonso.
And landed in your laps because the Braves wanted to get Matt Olson.
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
Shohei Ohtani. Are we gonna put Pete Alonso on the Shohei Ohtani level? We're gonna do that because Pete Alonso's got more home run derby titles than him? Is that what we're gonna do? Like, come on. And then we just sit here and we're like, well, the B-tier players who are very good players that get completely overpaid. And then you end up with contracts like Brandon Nimmo. Then you end up with contracts like Starling Marte. Then you end up with contracts like all of these that you're playing top dollar for, and you're not going to get the production, or you're not going to get a deep enough team that can function into October or even make the postseason. How many times do we need? How many times? Like, how many times do we need to learn this lesson? Well, we have the money. Let's just spend it. Okay, cool. Meanwhile, while other teams are actually getting better, getting deeper, developing players, just spend the money. Because as our great friend Artie Moreno always says, one of the greatest owners to ever exist, spending money always works. Why don't you spend it on the correct players at the correct time with correct timing? That's probably what they need to do. And if the ask is, well, 7 years, someone is going to give that to Pete Alonso. Okay, let them. Bye. No one is giving 7 years to Pete Alonso, and no competent franchise is giving 7 years to Pete Alonso. Because let's say, in hypotheticals, because everyone wants to say, how are you going to replace him hypothetically? So let me put out a hypothetical. How are you going to replace, let's say, okay, Freddie Freeman is not on the Dodgers at all. Let's say Freddie Freeman after this year retires. Okay, let's just say that, which he won't, because, he's got plenty of more years left. Do you think the Dodgers would say, well, Pete Alonso's available, let's give him 7 years? I don't think so. They definitely wouldn't. Now, obviously, the Dodgers have more resources than anyone, and maybe could afford to give Pete Alonso that type of money. But they spend it correctly. Who have we spent money correctly on? Okay, again, this is not a fantasy team conversation. Who am I going to replace him with? No. We're talking about it entirely as the team, making the team more balanced, more deep. And you're not going to be able to do that if you give 7 years to Pete Alonso at $200 million. That's not going to happen. Whether they have more money than Jesus or not. Because they're not going to go that way. Because if Pete Alonso is the main priority, that's rough. That is really rough, especially when you're talking about a guy who is on this team that also underachieved. Medina said in the chat here, from June 13th, when the Mets started their downfall, for 50 games, Pete was the worst hitter in the game. No, he wasn't. Come on. There's no way. No way. He's the best, though. He is the best, and we need to pay him like the best and pay top dollar for him. And give him 8 years like we did with Brandon Nimmo. Because we just can't learn our lesson, right? Just can't learn our lesson. And like we said so many times, like Frank said multiple times, we are not saying that this is Pete Alonso's fault. We are going into the deep core of this team because they had a near $400 million payroll and missed the postseason. It's just like, I can't do this over and over and over again. Because to be honest, if the Mets do end up if Pete ends up signing somewhere, I hope it is for 10 years, so I don't have to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
If you guys stop, if we could just agree to disagree, we could move on to like the other 3-4 segments we have listed on here. But we talk about P. Alonso for nearly an hour because we're arguing. I'm gonna keep it PG, but like you guys aren't even listening to what we're saying. We didn't say be the coupons. We didn't say don't pay anybody. You're just not even listening. You're just so like, again, the blue and orange glasses are just a little too bright. You gotta try a different lens because I mean you're not even listening to what we're saying. We're not talking about, oh, Pete's the reason why the Mets lost. Oh, it's all Pilon's fault. It's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that there's other ways to be a successful team. P is not the only way you could have success. Like, there's other things that we want to get to. We want to talk about, everyone talk about starting pitching. That's the next thing we have listed. If you actually stop listening for a second, look at the graphic. It's on the corner.
I think that's a good idea, Frank.
Skubal SP1 Rumors. Let's talk about the pitching.
Oh my God, that'd be nice. I think that's a good idea, Frank. Let's actually get into that starting pitching and those rumors that have been put out. Now, obviously, the Mets starting rotation this year was a fun ride, wasn't it, for anybody? But they obviously have to make changes in this rotation because if they bring back the same thing, it's going to be bad. Or, we should just bring back everyone and, it's a family here. But there were some rumors that came out via Andy Martino on Baseball Night in New York. We saw some stuff about John Heyman, who, has the connections to Scott Boras as well, talking a little bit about Tyreek Skubal, who it looks like will be available this offseason with some certain contract talks not really gaining as much momentum with him in Detroit. So here's some of the stuff that we saw. Now, John Heyman, via the New York Post, said that the Tigers and Skubal have a lot of work to do if they're going to bridge quite possibly the biggest gap in MLB negotiation history, saying that is not a misprint. It is close to $250 million. Word is a year ago, the Tigers offered Skubal way less than a $170 million deal, signed a bit later by Garrett Crochet. While there's no belief Skubal named his price, his comp is Garrett Cole, who signed 6 years ago to a record $324 million. And with prices up, the baseline ask for Skubal is seen as $400 million. And then Andy Martino went on Baseball Night in New York saying the Mets absolutely know that they need an ace heading into next season. If teams are talking to the Tigers about trading Tyreek Skubal, the Mets will be one of those teams, and the Mets will be aggressive. It wouldn't surprise me if they traded anyone but Nolan McLean. He then went on to go furthermore on SNY.com later on that night, saying that if/when the Tigers were to take calls on Skubal, expect the Mets to be motivated and involved. The Mets will surely know that they have to discuss just about any other prospect or young player to land Skubal because the Tigers are in a window to win. They will probably want MLB talent in addition to top prospects like Jonah Tong or Jet Williams. For what it's worth, the Tigers have expressed interest in Brett Beatty in the past. The Mets like Beatty, of course they do, but in general, that are willing to shake up their position player group. For a pitcher like Skubal, any team would part with good players. So obviously, Skubal is in the conversation mainly. But there's other guys that could be moved that have been seen as frontline guys. We know that we've heard Sandy's name come up, it's been rough for him recently since coming back from the Tommy John surgery, but he obviously still has talent, plenty of years left in that arm. We have seen, things be discussed about some guys on the free agent market, but also for the trade market. But Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan has been mentioned as a possibility who could be traded. There's even some other maybe starting pitcher twos like Freddie Peralta have been mentioned. There could be plenty of guys out there on the trading market. Maybe they don't want to pay with the upcoming CBA coming. Who knows? But when it comes to Tyreek Skubal, this is the best pitcher, one of the best pitchers in the world. If it's not him, it's Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens has been mentioned as somebody that maybe gets traded because It's Pittsburgh, but I don't think that happens this offseason, to be honest, and I wouldn't count on that happening. Prying Skubal away from the Tigers. Frank, I will go to you first, obviously. We know that starting pitching is expensive, cost controllable. It's hard to come by to be in the best position for it. You would be getting 1 year of Tyreek Skubal. He is represented by Scott Boras. Surprise! But when it comes to Tyreek Skubal, and you're talking about if you want a frontline piece, this would be the guy to go after. This would be the guy to pursue. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this, obviously? Because the rotation is going to be a point of emphasis this offseason. We know it's going to be after the disaster we saw this year. So, I mean, Skubal, heavy pursuit. What do you think? I don't know if he's been made available yet, but it's starting to rise right now. And if I were the Mets, this would be one of the first guys I would make the call on.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things Andrew mentioned earlier, but like when you say, do a Google search of seeing what players might be available because of some teams, like if you already have Tariq Skubal on your roster, the idea that you would be far apart in contract negotiations with him is kind of crazy considering how good he is and how rare he is. A lefty with that kind of stuff and that kind of consistency, like he's a special pitcher. I mean, he's just really one of those guys, like if you want to do all you can to keep him. But, a team like Detroit is not going to spend a ton of money. So there might be a time where, listen, they do make him available for trade. And if he were, you have to be interested. You know what I mean? Like you have got to make a phone call. However, what it would cost to get Skubal, I don't think the Mets are comfortable even having that conversation because of what you would need to give up in order to get this done. And unfortunately, we gave up a bunch of top 10 and top 15 prospects in rentals for some relievers who stink. So we have a little bit less ammo to work with. Not that those guys are going to get you Skubal anyway, but it could help a little bit with what else you have to give up on the front half. So for me, I feel like there are other teams who are willing to be more aggressive and actually willing to part with the prospects that it takes to get Skubal. But even if it's not Skubal, even if you talk about like Joe Ryan, like same thing. Like you have to give up so much to get someone of that caliber. It's something that, listen, I wish they would do. They should do it, but I don't think they're going to because, like you said, it is so expensive, especially at that age. Like, it's really tough to get those guys. You do just have to give up a ton to get it done. When you look at just pitching options in general, another name comes to mind. I'm going to say him every year until he gets moved, but Brewer, Freddie Peralta, like, look, another solid season from this guy. He just does it year after year after year. That you don't get that from a lot of guys. I mean, look, Framber Valdez is a free agent. Even you want to take a flyer, Zach Gallen's a free agent. Like there are some guys out there that could be better than Frankie Montas and some other guys that we've seen pitch for the Mets lately. So I think with Skubal, I love it. I just don't think the Mets are willing to do what it takes to get him.
I mean, we'll see. Andrew, we hinted about, the trade market, obviously, of some outgoing pieces that we mentioned in a video that we posted yesterday. However, when it comes to, getting the frontline guy, you have to be careful about it because, again, this is a position that plays every 5 days or every 6 days because there's
no. We're not. No.
But, with Tyreek Skubal, there is going to be a huge ask. There's going to be a massive ask, whether it is just 1 year of him, because he is one of the best pitchers in all of baseball right now. So would you, if he becomes available, would you be the first team to call? Would you be pursuing this heavy? Or would you look in other avenues to try and improve this rotation? Because again, ask is going to be steep. We know it will be.
Yeah, I guess I understand this is a different. Well, it's not even really a different. We've seen this before and a couple years ago. And yes, the name I'm about to say doesn't have the luster that it did when he was originally traded. Corbin Burns is in the same situation a few years ago. Traded to the Baltimore Orioles, 2 top 15 prospects in that loaded Baltimore system for 1 year of Corbin Burns. Obviously, Tariq Skubal is a better pitcher than Corbin Burns. That package will be heavier than those 2 pieces. But, and I think this is what nobody's talking about. And I understand everyone's like, well, the prospect package will probably be high. Of course it will. But you have to, and we continue to say all day, impending lockout. Teams see this and know the agent. This is a 1-year deal. This is not, you could say, well, this is literally Juan Soto to the Yankees. He's going to go to this team. He's going to play the season, and he will go to the highest bidder after the season. So teams know this. So you're not going to get, let's say, the Boston Red Sox. I think they'll be in the conversation. I do not think they're going to put a guy like Marcelo Meyer. They're not going to put a guy like Christian Campbell. They know they will put, and they like the Mets are in the same situation. They have a really good farm system. I know Frank, said we gave a bunch of prospects. We gave, even at the deadline, the disastrous deadline that it was, we still have a top 3 system in the game. And obviously, we're getting close to another international signing, which will continue to add some replenishment, another draft. And we do have some expendable pieces. And I'm talking, of course, Jet Williams. If a guy like Elian Pena continues to flourish, that makes his kind of potential Jet Williams expendable. We've seen the pitching development. Obviously, we see the big guys, 3 we saw this year. Guys like Jonathan Santucci, Zach Wenninger have improved massively and improved their stock outside of the organization, that those guys could be very valid trade pieces. Again, we've talked about the Tigers have interest in Brett Beatty. There's a way that you could potentially throw a Beatty. You're going to have to throw one of the kids on there. Obviously, Martino said McLean's off the table. I think if you put a package around Jonah Tong, Brett Beatty, and pick another one of the top 3 to 7, not named Benge or McLean, if it's Jet, if it's Clifford, I think that's your starting point. And maybe you have to add a guy in the back half of the top 20 or top 15. If it's a AJ Ewing, if it's I wouldn't love to give up a guy like Santucci or Wenninger, but I'm getting Tariq Skubal. And like I've said, we're not playing baseball in 2027. I am very confident. Well, we're not playing 162. We'll play that game. I don't expect we're playing baseball. So, and if you're in a win now mode, the Mets need to be aggressive here. Because again, it's 1 year, guaranteed balls to the wall. You can get aggressive. And even you have the farm system. If you wanted to go full Preller, which I don't expect, you could go full Preller a couple years ago where he went out and got Musgrove, Darvish, Snell. You could probably get 2 of these guys if you wanted. Because you have the ammunition to do it. You have it. If you want to do it, you have plenty of ammunition in that farm system and, cost controllable major leaguers. You can, there's a world where you can trade for Skubal and trade for Freddie Peralta. There's a world of it. I don't expect it to be this world, but you have the ammunition that if you wanted to, you can. And I do expect if you get that front end guy, you still have Nolan McLean. Now you're building a rotation. Okay. You get, let's say you trade for Skubal. McLean goes into your number 2 position. Everyone else goes down a peg. Everyone else is in their proper spot where they should be. If, God forbid, Kodai Senga is still here, he's your number 3 starter. Okay, that's a lot better than number 1 starter. Manaea goes to 4. Clay Holmes is your 5, as he should be. And then let's say Sproat and Scott are your depth guys in Syracuse. That's a good rotation going into the system because everyone is put in its proper spot. So I do expect them to add a front end guy. If it's Peralta, if it's Joe Ryan, Skubal, pick one of those. I do expect one of them. Martino said yesterday when this was brought up, he said Skubal, but he made sure to say Sandy, which is interesting. That it wasn't Joe Ryan, it wasn't Peralta. He says Skubal or Sandy. So I do, and obviously there's levels to Sandy to compare it to Skubal. But again, you're in the best spot. And then, hey, if there's a magical lockout, you have the money if you want him. And like Frank says, you have that 1-year test run in New York. Because, again, you don't know if you're playing baseball in 2027. So you get that 1-year test run. If you want to give him a stupid contract, give him a stupid contract. But at least I would be very aggressive on that last year of term because, one, you only guarantee at least 1 more year of baseball. You do need to kind of be aggressive on this. And you have the prospect capital to get it done. Again, like Frank said, the Stearns want to do it. I also didn't expect Stearns to be as aggressive as he was at the deadline. So maybe has some of it changed? We'll see.
Maybe. I mean, as things build up and as he's, inherited things and he's looked at things internally and he's looked at things that work or whatever, we're finally starting to see a clean out of, coaches and things like that, probably a little bit later than we should have. It's more of just him putting the stamp that he needs on the team, and I don't think anybody will sit here and give credit to David Stearns for getting Juan Soto because Steve Cohen is the only mastermind behind this. That's a different story. But when it comes to Tyreek Skubal, I never will be a fan of paying pitching and throwing all this money at guys who want 6-year, 7-year deal. Like, not everybody can sit here and be Garrett Cole and be exactly what you need from a contract, even with Garrett Cole right now going out for Tommy John surgery, because, that's just what this pitching market is. But if you're comparing it to the Garrett Cole situation, you don't see many 9-year, $324 million signings go to starting pitchers. It doesn't happen often. And there's a reason as to why, is because of what this position is made of. For me, I personally just like if you have a guy that can be good for the prime of his career, a guy like Nolan McLean, or a guy like that who you can have on the cheap. If you believe in Nolan McLean, let's say he gives you back-to-back years, let's say you extend him, get him cheap, and you get the prime years of his career. When it comes to Pete Alonso, or when it comes to other guys on this market, they're everyday players. So it's a lot different of the type of value that you are getting. However, Skubal is in that other top S tier of pitchers that if you were to pursue somebody like this, it will be looked at as a risk, considering there's a strong possibility that you lose him in free agency and you lose assets as well. Do I think that Skubal is the most likely? No. I also think that maybe somebody like Hunter Green has been talked about on the trade deadline. I think that that's unlikely as well. I don't see them going full force at this, but if they end up doing it, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, they are ruining the future of this team, blowing up the farm system. They gave up plenty of assets at the trade deadline that did not affect this farm system at all. It didn't. Barely. They were seen as assets, not high assets. There was one high ceiling prospect that they gave up in Jesus Baez, who is 20 years old. So it didn't take the big hit. And prospects can be allocated to a team in any way. They could be on your major league roster. They could be put in trades. There is so many different ways that they can be allocated. If you're going for it, if you're upset about how this year ended, and you know that one of the main reasons as to what was the lack of star power pitching, the lack of this, the lack of that, again, I like the quantity route. I like playing it safe with pitchers, going with high floors, going with things like that. But if they were to make trades here to improve the rotation for guys with team control, that's the direction that I would go with. If you're talking about Tyreek Skubal, go for it. If they're asking for a little bit extra, go for that little extra. Like Andrew said, who knows what happens in 2027? You got to look at it like it's no tomorrow. I'm not saying be stupid. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to pursue Tyreek Skubal, don't just make the phone call. Don't just sit here and ask what they want. Don't balk at certain prospects that are not going to save the world. If they are asking for Jet Williams, don't say, oh, well, we can't trade him. We can't trade Brandon Sproat. Everyone is movable after the year you just had. Everyone. At the major league level, at the minor league level. I'm not saying this is the only solution, because there's plenty of other guys out there. But we'll see. Some other guys that we can mention, again, I don't want to go completely external because the offseason technically has not started yet. But Sandy has been talked about before. We've seen Mets players talk about Sandy before. Sandy's been talked about before at the trade deadline. He hasn't been moved yet. Could he get moved this offseason? Who knows? Will the Mets be in pursuit for that? Andy Martino, as annoying, as big of a troll as he can be, there is a point of emphasis when he says they do know that they need an ace. I also think that they know that they're in a position where maybe we can contend to a Garrett Crochet type of level of deal. Who would be on that same level? Tyreek Skubal. If you want to say Hunter Green, if you want to say on buy low, Sandy Alcantara, like there is options out there. Last year, there wasn't. For the Mets, they did not have a pivotal point of emphasis with the farm system. Because even if the report came out that they didn't want to give up Jet Williams or Brandon Sproat, or they didn't want to bring up give away these guys, a lot of these guys were also hurt. So their value was down. And health with prospects, oh boy, does that bring value down? We saw what happened to Ronnie Mauricio. We saw what happened to Drew Gilbert. We saw what happened to these guys that get hurt. It goes down. It all depends on the injury, obviously. But they had in 2024 last year, their entire farm system, almost anybody in that top 10 had injury issues. There shouldn't be any prospect that keeps you from pursuing a guy like this if you have the resources for it. And good teams would find a way to replace that prospect capital with one draft. And after what I just saw last year, after what they did with, what was it, Chris Gross, David Stearns together, they had a great draft class. Phenomenal. I don't think anybody understands how good that draft class has looked in that first full year. This is what good teams can do. We've seen the Dodgers do this plenty of times. They've given away plenty of prospects. But guess what? There's a next guy up. There's a next guy. There's a next flow. And that's what good organizations do. They don't give 7 years to Pete Alonso, though. Right, Andrew?
And I guess if we want to do the Dodgers comp, and this is what infuriates me about what the Dodgers have done. And this is the whole sense they've taken over. Name a prospect they've traded that they regret. I could think of one, and even that one,
Jordan. That's it.
Yeah. And
but when they traded Jordan, he was like what? 13?
Exactly. They literally just signed him internationally. Like, of all those trades, the Machado trade, and I think this is what pisses me off, because every time we see the Dodgers trade, besides, you could say the Turner Scherzer, because they got literally the top of their farm system, and even that hasn't even equated to anything, they've kept every big prospect. Oh, they're going to trade Dalton Rushing. Oh, they're going to trade this guy. Or they're going to trade Andy Paez. Nope. Now those guys are first, well, at least in Paez's case. We'll see what happens with Rushing. But they've always had this, have played the line perfectly. Yeah. They build their prospects up to trade them, and they make sure they keep the ones that they feel can actually produce. That's my thing. I love prospects more than I go to more minor league games than anyone ever should. I love the minor league. I love minor league baseball. I love prospects. But I'm okay trading prospects. You just have to make sure you trade the right ones. Because the ones again, everyone losing their shit about PCA. No one would give a shit again. If they would originally, if it was, somebody else, whatever. You need to be able to trade prospects, because again, it's cash and prospects. Those are your two capitals. You have to be able to use them. So, and when you have the market and you see a premium asset, you're gonna have to pay the heavy cost. You have to do what with your scouting to make sure you think, okay, these are good prospects. We've made them look like frauds. We've built them. It seems like every Dodgers, anyone like hypes of the Dodgers, like even this now, we have like Zaire Hope and Jose to Paula. Oh, they're getting hyped. They're not really producing in the minor leagues, but they get the hype because they're Dodger prospects. You need to get to that level where you can fool these other organizations and be like, oh, look at these cool prospects. They really haven't done anything, but they have the Dodger
it's very
brand
obvious.
on them.
It's very obvious that different teams think differently. Like it's very obvious. So a team could value a guy compared to another team. Like the Mets, they may value, let's say, Jet Williams or Braden Sproat, but there's other teams that probably think they both stink. Like, again, it's all really just the view of that, and what are they possibly selling? How high are they going to try and sell on them? And how can they return those assets? Because not every single guy on that top 30 on pipelines, because everyone wants to look at pipeline, not all 30 of those guys are going to be on the major league roster. It's just not going to happen. It's not possible. It isn't. And it's great to have homegrown guys. And it's great to, lock these guys down. Nolan McLean is someone I would currently consider locking down right now, to be honest, if they weren't tied into some of this money right now. Good organizations have a flow of prospects. It's what it is. And I do trust them to make those right decisions after the drafts that they have had. Because after the first draft that they had, and even the second draft, they had some of these guys do very well, even before even getting a first full year. I'm easy saying how many Yankees prospects have panned out in these trades. True. I mean, they've developed better than us. They've had some bumps as well. But again, they keep the right guys. They know who they want to hold on to. And that's what the Mets need to do. They need to continue to be in a flow of that. Speaking of prospects, I want to get into some of the outlooks for two prospects that were said by Anthony DiComo on MLB.com. And it kind of pertains, the main reason why I want to point this out is obviously these are two departments that the Mets need to put emphasis on in this offseason. And obviously in that type of timeline, Jonah Tong and Carson Benge. Not me. Different Carson. So, as for Carson Benge, he said, just 22 years old, Benge still does have to prove that he's more adept at the AAA level before the Mets will consider calling him up, meaning he is not likely to be on an opening day option. But the team has to figure to build its 2025 roster with Benge in mind. Mets officials may shy away from acquiring a center fielder on a long-term deal, knowing Carson Benge could be ready by mid-season. If all goes to plan, Benge could be eventually the Mets' short to long-term center field solution they have sought out for years. As for Jonah Tong, saying that don't judge Tong based on his 5 largely forgettable starts over a season's final mouth. Before that, Tong did enough to earn the Mets Organizational Pitcher of the Year award, producing a 1.43 earned run average over 22 starts. Barring any exceptional spring, there is a decent chance that Tong will start next season back at AAA, but he's now just a short run of success away from potentially sticking in the majors for good. So those are two prospects obviously in mind. There's other guys that, maybe fit into the formula with, the infield being as crowded as it is. We know Jet Williams could be knocking on the door for 2026. We don't know. But obviously more of the center field discussion. Andy Martino said on Baseball Night in New York as well, in addition, talking about, his feel is that he believes that the Mets will go on the short-term range with center field. Could that be in the caliber of just a defensive center fielder? Maybe, I don't know. Or it could be somebody on short-term contracts. Andrew, I'll start with you on this. From what I'm getting from this, personally, this is just me, I think that what they are pursuing here is Luis Robert. That's what I believe is what they are pursuing right now. Because that's kind of how that lines up. Yes, Benge, middle of the season, you're going to be paying a decent amount of money for Robert. Maybe the White Sox take on some of it, but I don't think that they will. Again, that's what I think that they are pursuing personally. Harrison Bader's available, right? But again, I like the thought of bringing in a major league piece for center field because I don't think that Tyrone Taylor should be playing every day. but also the fact of keeping the door open for a kid like Carson Benge, who has stormed through the minor league system in his first full year in the minor leagues after getting drafted in the first round. So I don't think it's going to be, again, I don't think it's going to be, well, let's pursue Buxton, who's under contract, or let's sign a big, I just don't think that's going to happen. But we'll see. I don't know.
I mean, again, Robert was, we were punching and screaming that that's who we wanted at the deadline. And then it comes out, well, we could have paid for him. And God, why would Mark Vientos would look really good in the White Sox jersey? But I guess let's even continue this. And this was the whole master plan of the Chicago White Sox, because remember, pre-deadline, he was raking. He heard he was getting traded, and we saw that Luis Robert again. Then he doesn't get traded and gets hurt, and he never seen the rest of the year. And the whole plan was, well, he continues this red hot, pre-deadline. We'll accept the option, and boom, we'll trade him at high value. Well, that didn't come back to shoot you right in the foot. So maybe there's even a world. Again, they're not a well-run organization. They're dumber than a bag of, elephant dick. Maybe they don't just pick the option up, and maybe you just can pay cash for them. Okay, nothing yet. Again, that's why we say wait till non-tenders. We see this every year, guys. We don't expect the free agents are free agents. We do this every year. Kyle Schwarber and Cody Bellinger, two of the best free agents on the market right now. Prime examples. Yeah, again, I do expect them to stay short-term. And again, Benge he looked okay in AAA once he got out there. He did struggle. He saw his first big-time struggle. So, again, you're probably going to see April, May, June. There are some people with sources saying, hey, he's going to make the opening day roster. But, those guys are as reliable as me eating a salad. But we're not going to have that conversation. But, again, I think, Harrison Bader, I do think you need to see a little more offensive potential for that 1 year. Because, again, Tyrone Taylor is that perfect plug-and-play defensive first center fielder. We have that. And I get everyone's like, Luis Robert sucks. He has a higher offensive ceiling compared to Tyrone Taylor. And again, it's a 1 year. Even if you have to trade for him, you decline the option after the year. If, let's say, Benge comes up, or then Luis Robert gets hurt, you call it Benge steals the job. Boom, you just poof, $20 million going into the season, and Benge's job is there. Tyrone Taylor goes back in his prime spot as the fourth outfielder, and everything goes well. So, but again, the Benges, I think not Benges, Baders. Hey, maybe we'll bring back Cedric Mullins. No. Again, it's not a great class. And like you said, I don't expect a Bellinger or a Buxton or I don't even want to say this name, but we've seen previous to it. I could see them maybe doing another Taylor type trade as a left-handed bat, maybe an Alec Thomas. And just again, I don't want to say it, but again, we've seen previous reports that Stearns has been interesting at run prevention, and you could do that little shitty platoon until Benge is ready. But again, I do think, you don't like giving the prospects the job, but you do like, at least, injuries happen. Keep it flexible to say, hey, if this guy's injured, you just stick him on Robida Island. If Benge is who we think he is, you can just shove him down to Robida Island, and it's Benge's job the rest of the year.
I mean, again, there's not really much. I don't think that there's much risk in a guy like Robert, to be honest. I think that there's only upside, especially when you can just move on from him if you want to move on from him. We talked about this near the trade deadline, obviously. He's still young. He's got club options for 2026 and 2027. But Frank, I mean, the center field market is not great. Obviously, when it goes past Cody Bellinger, I know you don't consider Harrison Bader an option. There is, there's Trent Grisham. There's other guys. There's a few guys out there who could play center field, but not many that are just probably going to be looking at 1 year deals. I feel like there's going to be multi-year deals. So if it's a short-term thing, could we see another shot at a Jose Siri type trade? I hope not. But again, it's basically filling the gap from until you think somebody like Carson Benge is ready. You wouldn't be having this conversation if Brandon Nimmo was able to play center field. But that's not really an option right now. Corners are locked down. Center field, they're going to have to go somewhere with that. Siri is technically a free agent. They let him go. So, I don't know. I really don't know, because if they're looking for somebody to just hold the place before Benge gets here, that's fine. But who will that be? We don't know what they have under their sleeve. We didn't see Siri coming here last year, so who knows?
Yeah, as always, center field is a really tough position. If you're looking for a two-way player, someone that could be really productive offensively, but still give you very solid defense. There's very few of those guys even in the league, and the ones that do exist are not available. Teams try to keep them because they are so hard to find. And even the options that you listed, I mean, they say Cody Bellinger is listed as center fielder, he played left field last year. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't even playing center field. He's also in his 30s now. And the guy who's playing center field, Trent Grisham, his defensive numbers aren't even that great. So you had Grisham, who wasn't the greatest defender anymore, at least in center field, yet Bellinger still wasn't playing center field over him. Do you know what I mean? So, like, that, to me, that off the bat, they're still not traditional center fielders, and I can see why. Like, it's very clear that Stearns wants a defensive first center fielder. I mean, you know, how many different ways can you get the same player? And we've talked about that, but when you look at Tyrone Taylor, you look at Harrison Bader, Jose Siri, Cedric Mullins, like, he's had 4 cracks at it, and all 4 times has gone for a very defensive first guy and compared to an offensive player. So you feel like that's what he's looking for. So it's hard for me to predict or project that they would even look at someone who's more offensive heavy and even consider putting a Bellinger in center field or going the route of Trent Grisham, who you became more for his offense than his defense. I feel like Andrew said, they might be looking for like a platoon to go with Tyrone Taylor, another guy who is much more on the defensive side. When it comes to Robert, my take is still kind of the same. Like, I want someone who's playing well. Like, I just, like, I'm waiting. I'm like, okay, Luis Robert, like, you had a great start to your career, and you've just been bad ever since. Like, you ever going to turn around, or are you just going to totally just, like, let it play out and just stay in that bad situation? Like, if you want to get out of it, play well, and we'll trade for you. You know what I mean? Like, again, like, the work ethic concerns, I still have them, because I'm like, this dude, it just feels like is it like a switch that he turns on and off? Because far too often he's had it in the off position. So that's definitely something that is still a massive concern to me. If he's got an injury, that's not great either. And still, it's like he's going to be 30 relatively soon too. So, like, time is going on where, like, this young star all of a sudden isn't becoming young anymore, and he's not really a star either. You know, so I feel like if the White Sox are insistent on, listen, we want a lot of, you know, players that play for you right now, I still wouldn't even trade Vientos for him, in my opinion. If they want guys who are, like, decent prospects, I'd say no, because like we said, there's so many other holes. I'd rather address it there than going for Robert.
Let me shoot at Frank, because me and him we hung out a couple years ago. We had this conversation about Luis Robert, and your point was you used Eloy about guys that leave the White Sox. We always say have the upside. Now you're starting to see that is true. Now we still got Sheets breakout. Obviously, Milwaukee loves Andrew Vaughn. You're starting to, again, I'm not saying it, you know, I know we've had the conversation. And,
a couple years ago, but
it
like,
was bad.
It wasn't quite the same either. Like, at some point, but maybe it does. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if he gets out of a situation, like, it is possible. I'm not saying
it's possible.
That, like,
I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I'm just
but I feel like the more time goes on, it's like, can you really just all of a sudden become good at baseball again? Like, does it work like that when you're just so used to being bad and just kind of being in, like,
I just don't think there's much of the risk. You know, I don't think that there's really. The thought is like, okay, if he sucks, you just get rid of him. And obviously, the thought of $20 million
thing is nice, but I think too, like, the idea of potentially moving prospects. We talk about half rental, but like Andrew mentioned, the scenario of like half a season. Like, we're moving prospects for half a season of a guy.
If
like,
they don't get
to then have Benge take over
by the offseason,
that's like
don't even.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Again, that's
like
that's
I'd rather.
Story.
It's like, would you rather take a chance on one of those defensive first center fielders? Would you rather take a chance on Robert or take a chance on Benge? Like, that's ultimately what it comes down to, because none of these guys are guarantees. I mean, that's really what it is.
I see it as just like something you can just wipe your hands clean of if it doesn't work. Like, if it doesn't work, you can just wipe your hands clean. And then you also have the tools that get provided by Luis Robert, where he can give you great defense in center field. He can give you a strong arm well in center field. Yeah. He can steal bases. He's very, very fast. But we also saw that from Jose Siri, and it did not work. But he also broke his leg, so there's a different thing. Again, there's risk with it.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that there's long-term risk that ties you into a shitty contract. If it doesn't work, he gets hurt, whatever happens there, you give Benge a try. I guess that's what you look at, and I guess that's what they want to happen. They want him to probably be the future center fielder, considering it doesn't seem like there's any other options out there, or the Mets are just going to sign some glorious center fielder right now, especially after the swing and the miss in center field value that they got from Brandon Nimmo, signing him and for bringing him back. So, again, I think that this is perfect for the center field situation. I don't think that this offense needs to get any significantly better. I think they need to be coached better. I think they need to find better consistency. And I think they have enough talent. But if you have Luis Robert, like batting 6th or batting 7th, like I believe enough that this bat can be better than what it has been recently, even though he hasn't produced well. Because I will say last year, he had some of the best quality of contact of his career. So if they can make actual tweaks with a hitting coach that's from, I don't know, this century, who knows what can happen? If it doesn't happen, you just wipe your hands clean. Like that, I feel like it's just so low risk that
the bare minimum.
It's worth whatever mid-tier prospect I'm giving up for this because his value's so low and he's making $20 million or what is it? 18 million, something.
And again, he could also be the option gets declined, and you could sign him buy low. Again, there's a multitude of options. I do have a sneaky one, but I'll save it for my video, so I'm gonna keep that one in the back pocket. But there, again, I think they want to make Benge cost control, bring in let get the free players, like I always say. They want that, especially if we're going to continue to spend at the top of the roster. You need to supplement that with the free players. You hope Carson Wentz can be that. And me and you, Carson, look really stupid for really wanting Vance Honeycutt, and Vance Honeycutt is sucking an A ball while Carson Wentz is out here in AAA.
No, I never said that.
Never did that. Not like
he was whacked. Okay, can't say that. DeBeno in the chat giving us the 199, saying love your show, great debate, guys. Absolutely. For those of you. Super chats are not required, but they are accepted. Thank you guys so much for supporting our show. And I think that we're going to wrap some things up just in a second. But one more thing that I do want to say about this center field situation. Let me just say, if they are looking at it as a platoon with Tyrone Taylor, I do think that they are going to pursue the trade market.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If they are looking for a starting caliber center fielder that they thought Cedric Mullins was going to be, which he didn't end up being, I think that they might pursue somebody on the free agent market that maybe doesn't play center field full time and can play all 3 positions. Or maybe they pursue somebody on the trade market that can play all 3 positions, like Tyrone Taylor. Like, I don't see them pursuing hard here in the center field. I think it's going to be a stopgap situation. But let's just hope that it's not as horrendously bad as Jose Siri turned out. Or Cedric Mullins. Now, if they do bring back Cedric Mullins, that's going to be a different situation. That I'm jumping off a bridge because we know what he's capable of. I think that was the most offensive-minded they got for the center field. On paper.
And 99 WRC plus is the highest they wanted to go.
Yeah. But he was an all-star at one point. How could you not like him, Frank? What the hell?
Hey, MLB The Show legend. Cedric Mullins.
I think it's also just the fact of again, it's just more of the fact of how, again, if they want to implement tools and also want to go up with the upside and not just have, this high floor stuff with Tyrone Taylor, that would be Luis Robert right there. And I don't think that it has much of a risk. I'm not going to lose sleep at whoever they send to Chicago, because what is he going to do? What are they going to do with him again? Even if it was Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos is going to be the best hitter on the Chicago White Sox. Oh no, I am shaking because the White Sox suck. There's no, I just don't think that there's much risk. Like what is the scary part about this? Like, oh, Mark Vientos is going to lead the Chicago White Sox to the World Series. Yeah, sure he will. Sure he will. Yeah, well, absolutely. Andrew, anything else you want to add?
I mean, again, it's not like, a former Met garbage can was the ace of the White Sox. Oh, wait, Adrian Houser got traded at the deadline with a sub-2 ERA.
Yeah.
Just say, again, no, I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm not just saying. But, crazier shit has happened in the White Sox. They're not a real team.
We didn't trade him. We just let him go.
Cut him. Exactly. We traded for him and cut him. And then, there you go. So, all right. We're
going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications to know when we go live all offseason long, which is Thursday at 6 regularly. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. And let's go Mets. Maybe we'll officially be in the offseason, and there's a sweep in the World Series. It's all really about the timeline. We'll see you guys next time.